Hey everybody, I'm Dr. Plasma and I like elevators. Today we're doing a basic 3x3 elevator. Elevators are becoming an essential part of survival builds. They really add a nice touch to polishing an existing one. Unfortunately, many people get spooked because they look complicated, but I'm telling you they don't have to be. I'm here to make them easier for you. Let's get started. So first off, you need to know how to make a basic piston elevator. Piston elevator is really simple and only uses about 8 blocks. Have some obsidian handy, it'll help you keep things from going more places they shouldn't. But all you need is an observer and another observer on some pistons. Make the pistons so that the observers are facing the bottom of the pistons, like so. And goodbye. So let's talk about what's happening here. So when an observer is touched, it will move. It will send a fast signal that will cause a sticky piston to put a block forward and then not retract it. Every time it does that, it'll do that. But if there is no block, it'll pull instead. So watch these pistons. Every time this observer sees movement, this observer is going to cause those pistons to move. The way a basic piston elevator works is simple. You've got two observers and two pistons. And what happens is the pistons push and pull each other, like so. Every time you touch something in front of the observer, you're going to get some motion. Let's look closely at what's happening. So whenever you touch this one, it's going to want to go down based on the sequence it starts in. And when you touch this one, it's going to want to go up. So a good thing to remember is the one furthest away is from the direction you're going is how it's going to launch. You can think of them as pushing the whole thing forward. So when the top piston moves, it's going to, and this is going to matter later in a minute, it's going to push this piston upward, which is going to cause this slime block to be pushed, which is going to cause this slime block to be pushed, which is going to cause this piston to be pulled up with it, and it's going to cause this one to be pushed. And this one's going to send a signal to cause the other one to do it. That's gone. Here's a basic 3x3 piston elevator in action. So if we chain them so that we've got an additional, we're limited to 12 blocks we can push. We've only got 4 like we had over here. If we have another observer, we can send a redstone signal to this block and cause both of these pistons to activate. So what happens if I put a block here? It didn't work. Why didn't it work? It didn't work because this piston needs to push these 4 and this one and this one and this one and all of these. And so it's not going to work because this is too many blocks for it to push. So what we do is we do it in phases. So what we will have is this one trigger it first. And now it's a block ahead, which means that we only have to push these. So now, when we touch this one, congratulations, you've got a simple piston elevator. So the difference here is that all you need to do is prime the top one before you move more blocks. And you can move as many blocks as you want. Later I'm going to do a video on how to move a 12x12 pretty simply using the same mechanic. Over here I've shown you how it looks when you break it up into little pieces. So you have a basic piston elevator, and what you do is you add on top another layer, another piston phase that has a slime block to hold everything, and everything is just another observer and 2 pistons. And then on top of those pistons, you put enough slime and honey blocks that they can push blocks without going over the 12 limit. So I have 6 slime blocks here to hold those 5. So if I put 5 blocks on top of that, that's going to be 11, and it won't be too many. If I were to add another one, it wouldn't work, because then you would have another slime block, and then you would have 13, which is too many. And the leftovers have been done with these 5 honey blocks. And then finally, you have your layer on top of whatever blocks you want to use. Here's what you're going to need to build it down below. So let's build one. See how fast I can do it. So all you need is some observers. Like that. There you go. Now we've got our bottom layer. Now let's add an observer facing the right way. Some sticky pistons. We're going to add our layer of slime blocks. That should do it. Now we can use whatever you want. And before, you need to stop both of these in order for it to not have issues. So if you want to set some obsidian up here, that can help you. And that's it. Prime and go. And go back down. Now that's the easy part. The hard part in redstone is often making it look pretty. So next we're going to talk about making it pretty and buttons to activate it. The bottom is the easy part, so let's start with that. On the bottom, you're going to need to touch the top observer to prime it, and then you're going to need to kick it off. And so what you want to do is basically just run your button down to the top one, and then put a small delay on it. Only has to be 2 or 3 ticks, and then touch the bottom one. And that should be it. So let's build that. So let's go ahead and add a bottom trigger. So in order to add a bottom trigger, we need to have a bottom. So use glazed terracotta so the slime blocks don't touch that. And we can put a button anywhere we want. Let's say we wanted to put the button right here. We can run some redstone dust and run it down like so. And if you want to touch this twice, you can place this one first and then down, and so now it's like that, like we want it to. And there's our redstone dust. And now we need to trigger this one. So when we trigger this, it's going to send it off, which is fine. It'll just serve as a good test. So let's put a repeater down with a few ticks on it. And then we will connect that up to here like that. And we should be happy. Ready? Oh, we're not, because we didn't prime it. That's funny. So now we can actually test it for real. So let's sit right here. It works. Now all that's left is for us to do a top trigger. In the meantime, we can push it down out of the way if we would like. Like this. All right, time for the last piece. The top piece, or the clasp trigger as I like to call it, grabs it so that it stops so that you don't have to put anything on top. So if I push this button, it's going to cause these to pull out so there's no longer too many blocks, and then it will be able to go down. And we just have to do that right before or at the same time as we touch the down observer. So if we set off our completed example right here, this is just like the other one we made. We're going to cause this to be too many blocks. And you don't actually have to have it with pistons all the way around. All you need is so that each one adds up to at least 12, because this layer is going to add a block on each of them so that it will actually be more than 12. So you don't run the risk of it pushing through. So all you have to do is have a minimum number of sticky pistons. In this case, for a 3x3, I'm going to do 2 on each side. That's going to touch one of the slimes and 3 of the honeys to make sure we have enough. And when I push the button, it's going to pull that back, and it's going to launch it at the same time if you're watching down below. You see that piston. All right, so let's build the clasp trigger. All right, so let's start by giving it a nice floor around it like we would do in an actual build. And you can go as far as you want with this. I'm not going to go all the way around, but you get the idea. So all we've got to do is set up some blocks to be pushed and pulled by pistons, and then connect it to the trigger. So we're going to put some like this, and like this. And if you want to light them both, a very compact way to do it is to actually run redstone dust up here, like that. And that will light up both of them. Oh. Haha. So now, there you have it. Those will push and pull. So now, if we wire up a button, or a lever, we're going to see that they go in and out. So let's wire this up to the actual machine to say hello to the observer. So I'm going to run redstone down from there. That way we know it's at the same time or after. So dust, dust. I don't want to do it just yet. All right, that should do it. You think it's going to work? Let's find out. So if we were to run, let's say our button is, let's put our button closer. Let's say we wanted to run it, we'll go ahead and put the button right here, just for simplicity's sake. You can play with it and put it wherever you want. So this should retract these, and then fire this piston right after it's retracted them. And there it goes. Now you've got a working piston elevator that you can use in your survival builds. I use them all the time. They're fun. They're very simple. Up and down. Finally, before we go, I figured I would show you what I did for my intro. So this is a minor adjustment just to make it prettier. So if you put blocks around it that are terracotta, it's not going to touch them. So any terracotta blocks will be fine. And you can see right here, these are my blocks that push and pull. I'm actually hiding the observer touch to go down right here, so you can't tell. There's a number of ways you can do that. If you want to use glowstone or streamlights, anything that moves the block in front of an observer will cause it to function. All right. Thanks for watching, and I hope you have a great day. See ya.